Okay, let's make sure our stream is up and live. We want to make sure that this is running. And it seems like it is. Okay, good. All right. Welcome to Rhevs Palaver. If you were around in the last hour, you may or may not know that I screwed up and tweeted out an hour early about the timing of my podcast. Once again, I'd like to apologize for that. Because of some medical issues, I've been dealing with a little bit of chronic pain, and it's kind of made me a little loopy. But what we're trying today is we're trying something a little different. I've really wanted to get this guy on my podcast for a while, but due to time zone and the fact that he's a father and he can't be up this late, he goes, yeah, I'm usually asleep for about 2 hours by the time you start your podcast. So what we did is we pre-recorded this episode that you're about to see. However, I want everyone to know that even though this is pre-recorded, I will be hanging out in Twitch chat for the entire hour that the stream is live, talking to you, responding to anything you might have to say. So while your Twitch chat won't come up on the stream, I will be there talking and answering anything that you have to say. This is sort of the best I could do and still get my guest on, which I really wanted to do. This is also something that if it works out well, this is a test. If it works out well, it may allow me to have other guests on who cannot normally make an 8 o'clock at night on a Monday stream, be it time zone or other commitments. I've got a tentatively scheduled interview coming up with MZ of Team MZ. And I've also been trying to get Fluffy Wuffy on for an interview. And there have been some timing and scheduling issues. So, like I said, tonight is sort of a test. And if this works out, it may be something we see a little more often in the future. So I can get some guests that I really want to get on. But that normally have been saying no because they can't do it because of the timing of things. So, I think that that pretty much wraps up the sort of pretext to the episode that you're about to see. I haven't gotten any feedback on the audio issues yet, so I'm hoping everything looks good and sounds good. And with that, I think it's time to jump into episode 11 of Rhevs Palaver. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to Rhevs Palaver. Today, this is a secret palaver. Secret. What I'm doing is I'm actually pre-recording, or would it just be recording? I guess I'm not pre-recording it. I'm recording this episode, and I'm going to put it in the can, as they say in the movie industry. This is not being filmed at the regular Rhevs Palaver time, but I wanted to have a conversation with someone that I know on Twitch that's someone I actually watch pretty regularly on Twitch. So this is being recorded Monday morning, January 23rd. And I'll air it at some future date. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest, Cal. Cal, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. So, let me just give anyone watching the quick rundown. Cal is Winbykayo on Twitch, and you can see his Twitch and Twitter handle there above his head. And you're Scottish, yes?
I am indeed. Yes, I'm indeed. I don't sound particularly Scottish because I grew up in the Scottish borders, so the Scottish borders has got a kind of quite diluted Scottish accent. I don't sound like I'm from Glasgow or anything, but yes, I am indeed from Scotland.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I find you very interesting. Now, you actually stream most of the time that you're streaming. I'm asleep, so I wake up, stumble to my computer, flop down, and watch you play Hearthstone for a good half an hour or so while I wake up. And I got to be honest, the accent's one of the reasons.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. It's not much of a novelty for anyone, where I'm from, but for someone in the States or anyone else, yeah, it's a novelty. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So one of the things I said, hey man, listen, I think we can do a little bit to work on improving your stream and sort of getting you a few more views and a few more followers. And he said, well, let's get on Skype. And I said, oh, well, would you mind if I recorded it for future? Because I figured, why not do two things at once? I really wanted to put an episode of Rhevs Palaver on the can for a while, and I have no doubt that you and I can talk for an hour easily.
Oh, easily, yeah. I can talk to myself for an hour easily. So,
well, that's the first thing I wanted to bring up. One thing that makes you a fantastic streamer is you don't shut up when you're streaming, and that's a very good thing. You talk constantly while you're playing Hearthstone as if you're talking to 150 people, and that's a skill I wish I had. To be honest.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it. I mean, one of the most annoying things for me is when you look at somebody like there's a streamer, and I've got nothing against this guy. Is it Kalento? You've probably seen him. He's a really cool guy. He's a great Hearthstone player and all that kind of stuff. But my God, he's so boring on his stream. Like, no offense to the guy, but he just does not know how to keep his audience. I don't know why so many people watch him. I think it's just because it's kind of he's so boring on his stream. Like, no offense to the guy, but he just does not know how to keep his audience. I don't know why so many people watch.
I'm getting feedback. I'm sorry. I had Skype window open and it started. You don't know why he. I'm sorry. The last thing I heard before it started feeding back was you don't know how he keeps his audience. The only thing I can think with people like that are, like, maybe there are people who enjoy the silence, but to me, why are you watching Twitch if you like that? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, I do a podcast anyway. So like, I can't imagine staying, like, I do a podcast with another guy, so I get a little break from talking because we kind of a duo, we go back and forth. But I can't imagine being silent for anything more than a minute when I'm twitching, so to speak. Twitching sounds like such a weird way to describe it, but I guess that's really what it's called. I can't imagine staying quiet for anything more than like a minute. I just think, why would anyone want to check me out? Because I'm not a high legend player, and I don't have a huge following from anywhere else. So you've really, really got to work at it. And part of working at it is, one, obviously making sure your stream is as good as it can possibly look, which I think mine is, it's kind of getting there. And the other thing is keep your audience engaged. Mm-hmm. You've got to interact, because that's one of the best things about Twitch, is that you can actually chat to people and you can meet people, and that's how you and me met, and then here we are. Now I'm on your podcast. It's good. I love it.
Right. Well, I mean, what I do, and this is before I joined Team MZ, but what I would literally do is I would, if I was looking for something to watch, like in the mornings, or because I not only stream, but I also, I also watch Twitch. I enjoy watching Twitch. What I'll do is I'll go in whatever game I feel like watching, and then I will scroll down the list until I see someone who's only got one viewer, mm-hmm. Or 0 viewers. And I'll look to see, do they have a webcam? Does their stream not look like total garbage? Yeah. And if that's the case, I'll jump in and I'll say something in chat. And if they respond within the first minute or two, and if they're talking, then I'll watch them. But if they're just sitting there silently staring at the screen, and if they don't respond to Twitch chat, then I move on. And I'm big on, I use Reddit a lot, and that's one of the things I was reading on Reddit is this guy's like, I'm just a viewer. I don't stream, but can I just tell you streamers something? You have to talk. You can't be silent. He goes, I'll lurk into someone's channel and I'll sit there for 5 minutes. And if they don't talk in 5 minutes, I leave. And I think 5 minutes, I'm like 30 seconds and I'm out.
Yeah. For 5 minutes is far too generous. I mean, like I said, I hate to repeat myself, but it's relevant. I can't imagine staying quiet for 5 minutes. I mean, maybe if it's like a super intense game, like, like just every single thing gets played and it's right down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I might go like super like, like concentration and like not say anything, but 5 minutes? No, I don't understand. I don't understand what these guys are thinking, and as well, I can't remember what this guy's what this guy's name was, but he was like a reasonable like middle ranked legend player, and I think the title of his stream was why would anyone watch this stream, and it was right down the bottom, and then I was looking for a little bit, and then someone commented something along the lines of, yeah, why would anyone watch this? And he just said, yeah man, I have absolutely no idea why someone would watch this. And I'm like, that's your line? Like, your tagline is basically, this is a crap stream, why would anyone watch it? It's like, well, what's the point in streaming at all then? You may as well just go and do something else. If you're not going to actually give people a reason to stick around and potentially like, subscribe to you and give you money and follow you and all that, what's the point? I really don't understand why some people even start doing this, because they're not doing themselves any favors at all.
No, and I'm perfectly okay with self-deprecating, remarks and self-deprecating humor. When I do Hearthstone, a lot of times my title on Hearthstone, your door just opened behind you. Is that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my girlfriend's just coming in quickly, but she's out again.
Tell her I said hi, and she still has to make you hello Dolly bars.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's on it. She's on it.
She's on it. But like when I play Hearthstone, one of the titles I use a lot of times is Hearthstone, just a noob being bad. Because I'm not good at Hearthstone, but I really enjoy playing it. I feel like that kind of self-deprecating humor isn't necessarily bad because, some people are like, oh, let me check this out, and I try to talk. Now, when I play Overwatch, there will be good 30 to 60 second periods of times where I am laser focused in. We've got 45 seconds left to take the point, and I'm not thinking. But even then, I'll be like, fuck, come on, fuck. You don't necessarily have to engage, but you don't want to zombie out. I call it zombie out. Hey, CJ. I actually have someone showing up in chat. I'll just let CJ know, this is a super secret podcast. This was not, I usually schedule mine, but this is a secret episode that I'm storing for later. Now, that being said, so that's one thing that I love about you, and I think that you often in your bio data below your thing, you say if you're looking for someone that's going to be, elite Hearthstone player, blah blah blah, go somewhere else. I'm not an elite player. But I feel like you understand a lot of the mechanics of Hearthstone to the point where watching you is interesting, and you have a very good sense. Like, a lot of times I'll throw out like, oh, you should play the Trog before the lightning bolt. But at the same time, I'll be thinking to myself, oh, what I would do in this situation is X, Y, Z. And you'll do something completely different, and it'll work out way better. So I don't think that... I think you're definitely a better Hearthstone player than me. And I think you're currently at the highest rank I've ever achieved, right? You're at 12 now?
Yeah, I'm floating around. I'm floating around rank 12. I tried for a little while to climb one rank every month, but then once I realized that there's a huge jump between rank 15 and anything approaching rank 10, like just a massive jump in competition, I realized that was going to be quite hard to that was going to be quite hard to maintain. And also, I like to try out new decks a lot as well. Like trying to build some stuff, see if it works. I was trying an Evolve Shaman today, which ended up working out. I never played it on ladder, I never played it on stream before, so it ended up working out. So sometimes my ranking can fall quite dramatically depending on what deck I'm playing and stuff like that. Because if I just wanted to get right, that's the funny thing with Hearthstone is that if you really just wanted to grind all the way to as high as you wanted, just play Pirate Warrior. Mm-hmm. Just play Pirate Warrior. But I can win, and this isn't boasting, this is just how overpowered Pirate Warrior is right now. I can play Pirate Warrior and win 6 games in a row without even really trying, but I get zero satisfaction out of doing it. So I just thought, no, why would someone want to watch someone, at legend rank just play a kind of quote unquote brainless deck like Pirate Warrior. My thinking is that they would rather, they would rather see someone who isn't the best out there, or isn't even, even really that good, but at least is going to play, good decks and have good games, because it's about entertainment at the end of the day. It's got to be. If you're not entertaining your fans, and if you're not entertained yourself, that's not going to entertain your fans either. Then it's not gonna work, is it?
Well, it's interesting because for a long time you were playing pretty much the same Miracle Rogue deck, and
Yeah.
I have to be honest, I think literally the day before you switched decks and you started playing something different, I was like, I'm really sick of watching Miracle Rogue. I'm
Yeah.
like, I kind of am sick of watching him play Miracle Rogue. And I had that thought, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just say, I'm not going to say anything to him because he's having fun, whatever. It's like, if he's having fun, that's what matters. And
Yeah.
then the next time I saw you streaming, you were playing a different deck. So I was like, oh, I think he probably got sick of Miracle Rogue too.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Hearthstone, and it's one of the is one of the downsides of it, is that, unless you're willing to put quite a lot of money into it, or you're really good in the arena, and you can be one of those kind of infinite arena players where you just get to 7 wins and that reimburses you for your gold, and you just keep on going. Actually building viable decks, especially in this meta after the Gadgetzan meta came out, which is super brutal. It's really, really difficult to build decks just out of kind of like, as high as epic cards. And crafting legendaries is really, really expensive on the dust. So you're quite limited to what I was quite limited for a while to what decks I could actually play, which is one of the problems. That's why I played Miracle Rogue for the longest time, because I read it on there was some legend rank player actually wrote a guide for that specific deck, and I thought, okay, if he can take it to legend, then it means it's viable. And I tried a couple of things out. Like I try a Jade Shaman. No, not a Jade Shaman, sorry, a Jade Miracle Rogue, which sort of works, but building your own decks, it's really, really difficult to tell if it's actually viable, or if it's just you're getting bad draws, or your opponent's getting, or it's just bad luck. It's difficult. So if I had all the cards, or at least some of the main kind of, Ragnaros, Barnes type legendaries, I would play more decks as well, but I just don't have the money to be putting to be buying packs of cards, and I'm not very good in the arena. So that definitely limits people. And this might be a slight digression, but it must be pretty sucky for a free-to-play account, for the free-to-play players on Hearthstone right now, because using basic cards, you're not going to beat the Reno decks that are out there, and you're definitely not going to beat any of the Pirate Warrior decks. You're just not going to be able to compete with them.
And on top of that, it's like, so I have a good friend who just started playing Hearthstone, and she just started playing it like a month ago. Like,
Yeah.
Literally, she just started playing, to the point where, when I look at her, decks, it's like she'll have 10 of 14 basic cards unlocked for Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, she can't play. Like, her decks are just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, oh, I got this great card. I'm like, oh, what is it? And she'd be like, oh, it's called Chillwind Yeti. It's so powerful. I'm like,
oh dear.
I'm like, that is powerful, but like, if that's your most powerful card, you're in trouble. And she only plays casual. She won't play ranked, and she gets destroyed.
Okay.
She goes, oh, I only win about 1 out of every maybe 10 times. And even then you figure that's probably because someone's testing a completely crazy deck. And I'm a free-to-play player. I've spent exactly $5 on this game. When they offered that introductory bundle for $5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I bought that, and of course the legendary I got was one I already had, which was like, oh, come on, King Crush, really?
That's a sucky legendary to get. Yeah, definitely.
Well, so I dusted it, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been free to play. But I started playing back when the game first came out, and I took a long break, and I came back right around Whispers of the Old Gods because someone told me they were giving away free packs if you played. So I played for a little while, got some free packs, then I quit again. Then when the Karazhan expansion came out, and I saw that video, I was like, oh my god, that video is so hilarious.
Yeah.
And the Karazhan video actually drew me back in, and I've been playing pretty much every day since Karazhan came out. And I do okay, but I don't have patches, so I can't make a pirate deck. And the thing, we were talking about this on chat, is that combo of small-time Buccaneer patches is so powerful that you can almost slot it into any deck.
Yeah. Literally any deck. I mean, you can play it just anywhere you want. Really. And the thing is, as well, is that it gives you the aggro start, like the super aggressive, really really good, like totally dominates the board, do a lot of face damage, aggro start. But you can put it into a control deck because I'm playing it in that, but because I'm playing it in. I usually play it in Miracle Rogue, and Miracle Rogue is definitely not aggro. It's control more than anything else. It's kind of unique, but that patches opener is just absolutely ridiculous, especially with Rogue as well, because the small time buck gets what is it, 2 extra attack from if you've got a weapon equipped. So on turn 2 you can have a 3/2 and a 1/1, and one of them's got charge. It's just insane. 1-drops are broken in Hearthstone. Absolutely broken.
And I think right now Small Time Buccaneer is the most broken and overpowered card in the game, especially with the fact that it came out in the same expansion as Patches. That means, dude, Blizzard has to nerf Small Time Buccaneer. There's no doubt in my mind it has got to nerf Small Time Buccaneer. Currently, let's say that you're playing any rogue deck. It doesn't even matter what rogue deck it is that has a Small Time Buccaneer and Patches in it. And let's say you go up against a druid, a ramp druid.
Yeah.
So ramp druid, turn 1, he doesn't play anything. Turn 2 is he wants to play wild growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're playing your rogue. Turn 1, you drop Small Time Buccaneer that brings out Patches. You hit Patches in the face, there's 1 damage. Turn 2, you dagger up. You hit Patches again. Small Time Buccaneer hits for 3. And then you dagger. That's 6 damage. He's already at 24 life on turn 2, and all he's done is play a wild growth.
Yeah, exactly. And Blizzard tried to bring out some kind of anti-aggro cards like Mistress of Mixtures and stuff like that to try and make it like a little bit more like kind of like the counter to aggro, but it just doesn't really work. It didn't really work out that way. And the warrior got like quite a lot of taunt cards, so you can kind of play those kind of like sort of control warriors, but they're more like buff taunt warriors to kind of counter the aggro. But we wanted to kind of see it to see aggro and control, kind of like the disparity between them kind of disappear a little bit and make it so that because sometimes especially against aggro and super especially against Druid, if they're playing Jade, it sometimes doesn't matter what you do. You could concede by turn 6 and you can feel confident that there was no way you were gonna win, especially with Pirate Warrior. And sometimes Face Shaman as well can be like that. Face Shaman, Aggro Shaman. It's just if they get the right cards, then the game's basically just, I wouldn't say it's over, but you've got like a 90% chance that you're gonna lose, which excuse me, which is, I mean, I know it's just part of the game, but in terms of depth of gameplay, a coin toss isn't really good depth of gameplay, is it? I mean, it's not good. You're right. They need to nerf some cards, especially Small Time Buccaneer. That needs to be nerfed, and they might need to nerf Jade Blossom as well. Is it Jade Blossom where you can either play a Jade or you can shuffle
Jade
3
Idol.
into your Jade Idol? Yeah, that's the one. That needs to be dealt with because Jade Druid is just completely unstoppable if they get past, if they can start to ramp to bring the Jade army into the game. It's just, okay, I've got every card in my hand, absolutely perfect opener.
Well,
and
I'm going to disagree with you on that, only because if we're talking about the problem being aggro decks, the Jade Druid is probably the only slow endgame deck that can actually compete.
That's true.
So that's the only reason I disagree with that sentiment. I mean, it stinks when you get like to turn 6 or 7, and all of a sudden he's dropping a 4/4 Jade Golem and a 5/5, and the next turn he drops a 6/6 with an Aya, and then it's like, now if I kill this Aya, that's a 7. And but the thing is, it's a weird dichotomy because you feel like, okay, well, here's a deck that is not a face rush deck, right?
Yeah.
A quick aggro deck. But at the same time, the only legitimate way to beat that deck is with a quick, fast rush aggro deck.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, unless I mean, because I do about I think I win about 50% of the time against the Jade, especially if they're in a Druid deck. But a lot of it just comes down to them not getting what they needed in their opening hand,
Mm-hmm.
and just having a bad draw. And I'd rather win out of skill rather than winning just because my opponent got a shitty draw, you know?
Well, so I want to dip into one of the other problems. You mentioned Arena. Do you play Arena much? I never see you on Arena.
No, I don't stream Arena because, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
because I just suck at it. I just suck at it really, really badly. But Criparian's always talking about some problems in Arena. I can't quite remember exactly what he was highlighting, but I think one of them was the going first problem. If you go first in Arena, you're probably going to win.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems in Arena. I play Arena sometimes, but I'd rather spend the gold that I get on packs of cards because I'm trying to build specific decks that I want to, improve my stream with. And it's like £1. It's like £1.50 to go into the arena every time, and I just don't want to put any more money into Hearthstone than I already have.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I've done a bit of Arena, and I think the highest I ever got was 7 wins.
Well, that's good, man. That's good.
But I mean, the last couple times I've done it, I've gone like 3-3.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you just feel like, well, I just wasted gold. And it's not a
Pretty
huge
much.
waste because you'll still get a pack, and you'll get a little bit of dust, and you might get like one card, and it's like, well, would I have paid 50 gold for that one card and some dust? No, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
But the reason why I want to bring up Arena is, did you see the Hearthstone developer update that came out recently?
No, I did not.
So there were a couple things that were mentioned that are relevant to the conversation, and I'm already starting to draw a blank on them. But one of the things they talked about is they were talking about the idea of making Arena sort of the standard format of play. Like that would be what they would push, not so much ladder as
right.
And that's interesting to me, except for the fact that I feel like 150 gold is gonna be rough. Like maybe they should either drop it down to 125 or maybe raise the rewards just a little bit. Like make it to the point where maybe you're not infinitely cycling, you're not an infinite arena player, but maybe you don't need 7 wins to break even. Maybe like 5 wins to break even.
Yeah, no. I mean, I completely agree with that. I mean, the greed of Blizzard is really something to behold. I mean, they're so stingy with the rewards sometimes, especially in card games, because there's a game called Shadowverse where I think you get like 50 free packs of cards just for signing up or like registering your email or something, But Blizzard kind of act like they've only got Hearthstone and they're a struggling little like independent development team. But they've got World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft makes them like hundreds of millions every year, and Hearthstone
make a lot of money on Hearthstone though.
Oh, they made a ridiculous amount of money on Hearthstone. So it's like there's no way that they're going to be going bust anytime soon. So why not? I think a good way to kind of get new players into playing Hearthstone and make it a little bit more enjoyable for people that are just starting right now is maybe just have some kind of maybe just have access to like you can just pay like I don't know $10 or $15 or something, and they'll just give you a bunch of legendaries or something like that, just like a legendary opening. Like a pack that's got, I don't know, 3 or 4 legendaries in it or something. Because then if you have the legendaries, then you can start to build a deck around them. But I mean, like, how many viable decks are there to play on ladder or casual that don't have any legendaries in them? I mean, I don't.
My Dragon Priest is somewhat viable, and that doesn't have any legendaries in it. I've got a Warlock deck that doesn't have any legendaries that I've got about a 55% win rate with on ladder.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's why? It's because no one expects it. Like it's a buffing demon deck, and no one expects it, and everyone plays around it wrong. They see Warlock and they're expecting a Reno lock, and I don't have Reno in it, and they don't like. I'll throw out a Hellfire, and then they'll think, okay, he used his Hellfire, and they'll think they're safe, and then I drop another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would be fooled by that, no doubt. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that on the ladder. I mean, the meta's made, experimenting with new decks quite rigid, because you need to be able to deal if you want to get to a kind of 50% win rate, which is where everybody should be, because even the professional guys usually have around that as well, maybe a little bit higher on good days, But if you're going to build a deck and it's not going to be a meta deck, it needs to be able to contend with the Renos, it needs to be able to contend with the Jade, and contend with the Pirate Warriors all at the same time. And that's really, really difficult to do if you're actually just building something and you're not just getting it off Hearthpawn or something, or Icy Veins or whatever it's called, So, yeah, the game's quite rigid at the moment. But I to be honest, I'm enjoying this meta a lot more than the Karazhan meta, because that was just
bad.
Shaman Stone. Shaman Stone and Curve Stone. That's literally all it was. Just mid-range Shaman, and that was not good.
My friend Cortraption in Twitch chat says no one expects the Warlock Inquisition.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. That's why I had some success with Evolve Shaman today, because the Tunnel Trog, the Spirit Claws, the Totem Golem and all that kind of stuff. If you get that opener, people think, right, you're either going mid-range or you're going to go face, so they can expect Lava Burst and all that. And then you start whipping out, the Evolve and the Devolve and all that. Like, you can kind of catch people, sleeping. They think that like with your buff Warlock deck, you can catch people sleeping. But I've got a reasonable amount of experience with Hearthstone, and you do as well, because I've been playing it on and off since it came out as well. But new players, they're just going to get absolutely smoked if they try and go in there with basic cards. And I don't see why that's a good business plan at all. And like, I hate to repeat myself twice on one podcast, but Blizzard are not exactly struggling for money. They absolutely could offer some kind of introductory deck or something like that. They could make it a little bit better.
My feeling is there's way too much of a grind to get those basic cards. So the new player starts with a unbelievably crappy, unbelievably basic deck. Now, you can do training to unlock all of the basic cards. But why? Other than if the point is to teach a new player, hey, listen, this game is all about grinding.
Yeah.
If that's the intention, then it works. But if the intention is to get new players a base set of cards, it fails. I don't think the current thing works. Now, one of the other things that was mentioned during the Hearthstone developer update, which I think is huge, is they've talked about adding different tiers to the ladder. So you know how if you're playing and you're rank 21 and you lose a match, you don't lose any rank.
Yeah.
And then once you get to rank 19, then you can go back down to rank 20. They were talking about, for example, adding... once you hit rank 15, then you will never drop below 15. Once you hit rank 10, you never drop below 10. 5, and then legend.
That's interesting.
I think that would be really interesting. And on top of that, you know how when a new season starts, you get bonus stars based on your ranking from the last season? They're thinking about adding significantly more stars based on your previous ranking. And I think this is a fantastic idea, because then what you would do is you would push all these legend players that... when they end a season and then they start a new one, they're at like rank 17. You know what I mean? It would push them out, and they'd be up at rank 10 when they start a new season or whatever. And then the newer players who are playing down at rank 20, 19, 18, they wouldn't be running into these people who know the game inside and out and have all of the cards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really, really don't understand where the sense is in... I watch a streamer, the Swedish guy called Asmodee. He's really, really good. And at the beginning of the season, he was like number one in the legend rankings on the EU server. So the guy's legitimately good. I mean, he's an amazing Hearthstone player. But what sense does it make him start at rank 17? Like, I just do not understand why that makes any sense. The one good thing that I will say about that, though, is that because I'm kind of like, but the best I got was like rank 10. I think I briefly went into rank 9, but then got pushed back down. I think it was right at the end of the season. But the good thing is that, you know, the first week of the season is usually just absolute chaos, you know, every new season, because you just got all these absolute killers, right? But if you can maintain a 50% win rate at the beginning of the season on the lower ranks, you know that you actually can hang with the big dogs that are at Legend, because you're going to be getting guys that are like Legend or at least rank 5. So it's good for testing yourself against, like, some of the best players on the server. But in terms of enticing new people to play the game, and not just play the game but actually enjoy the game, it makes absolutely zero sense. And why does Asmodee or Trump or any of those, Kalento, why do they need to be just absolutely just, pawning noobs, so to speak, at lower ranks? I mean, because that's even what it's like for me, because I haven't been down at rank 20 for some time now, because I usually start off at, I think it's around rank 19, rank 19, 2 stars or something if I get to rank 10, which I've been doing consistently for like 3 months now. But at the beginning of the season, it's either just I absolutely wipe the floor with my opponent, or it's just the hardest game I've ever played. I'll play, because it's either complete noobs or it's absolute stone cold killers for the entire time. I would rather just play the stone cold killers and just let the noobs play each other, because then that's how you're going to learn. But a noob is not learning anything. There's nothing wrong with being a noob. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. It's just how it is. But a noob is not learning anything at all from getting his or her ass kicked absolutely 100% of the time by me. They're not learning anything.
Right.
They're just learning that, like, whoa, wow, that was not fun. I might just uninstall this and go and play, I don't know, something else. Makes no sense whatsoever. They need, but Hearthstone is still a really young game. So there's a lot of time to develop this and make it better, and I hope they do, but they need to stop making one drops. It's the fact that they're still making
serious.
Yeah, they're still making overpowered 1-drops, and no matter how many times, the influential people that play Hearthstone keep saying stop doing these things, they just keep doing it. So it does make me wonder and worry a little bit if they're, it makes me doubt if they really have, anything more than just let's make as much money as we can at the heart of the decision-making process, because patches is just ridiculously overpowered, and small-time buck, and just everything else as well. So I don't know. Hopefully the game keeps, because I enjoy it, but I'm already in. I'm reasonably good at the game, but they need to make it a better experience for newer players, no doubt.
So I played Magic the Gathering all the way back in high school, back in the mid-90s.
Oh, cool.
I got into the game when you could still buy. I don't know if you know Magic the Gathering at all.
I know a little bit about it.
Well, this will just be for people watching who know Magic. I played when you could still buy Legends cards in the store. Like, that was one of the expansions. That was the second expansion.
Oh, that's cool.
And the Dark had just come out, and that was the third expansion. So that's when I started playing. And I played for a couple of years until I started having sex on the regular, and then I was like, I don't have time for card games anymore.
That is a common experience, my friend.
Yes. But I've always loved it, and I've always sort of just kept one sort of eye on it, from a very far distance. And one of the things that Magic has done over the many, many years, I mean, it's 20 some years now that it's been going, that is right, is they will update the core set. So I don't even know what edition they're in now, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th edition, whatever they're in. And they will go back and they will look at cards going all the way back to their inception, going all the way back to the 90s, and say, hey, Sarah Angel, this is a great card. The cost is right. It'll fit in with balance-wise with these other cards. It's a good white card. It's not the most powerful white card we're going to have, but it's a very strong sort of middle to late game card, and blah, blah, blah. So let's put that back into the set. Now, I think this is what Hearthstone needs to do. Hearthstone's been making cards for a little over 2.5 years now, right? It's been out, that the whole game's been out. They need to seriously look at what the core set is. And by that, I mean the set that people will just get just playing. Not even the base cards. I mean the core set that they get from playing. And when a new player starts, let's say that they have reached a certain rank with all 9 heroes, say, boom, you have unlocked the core set. You now have access to all 180 of these cards. These cards
Yeah.
are designed and balanced to be, decent, maybe not the best, but they're definitely not crap. And then now, if you want, spend some money and buy our new expansion. And I feel like that would create a much better user experience for new players. Cortraption just said in chat, she goes, I installed Hearthstone, but I haven't even tried to play. I don't feel like I have the time to get good enough to have a good time playing it. And
That's totally fair.
I mentioned my other friend who she just started playing a few weeks ago. She goes, I like playing it. I don't care that I lose 9 out of 10 games. But you know what? Most people aren't going to be that way. Most people are if they lose 9 games in a row, they're going to be like, fuck this game.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is that I wouldn't say the community is hostile, but the way to interact with other people, because obviously you can't just chat to someone when you're playing the game, which is, I guess, is to stop, racist trolling and spamming and all that kind of stuff. You just kind of got those 6 kind of right-click options that you can say to people, and you can add people and then talk to them, blah, blah, blah. But the community, there's not really a good explanation for why you lost when you're new. It's just, I lost, and I don't really know what I could have done differently. So yeah, they maybe need to educate the newer players a little bit better, like maybe write some better guides, or maybe write a guide in terms of just like, you don't do this, definitely do this.
I can't remember what game it was. I want to say it was League of Legends. I'm almost positive it was. One of the things that League of Legends did that I loved is they introduced an in-game mentoring program.
Yeah, I saw that. My girlfriend plays a little bit of League of Legends, and I watched her as she was going through that. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was like literally you could earn experience by watching new players play and then helping them and giving them advice and telling them what they could do or what they could do differently. That's so fantastic. I'd love to see some sort of option like that because, again, I feel like the new player experience right now is terrible. It's just awful.
Yeah.
You can earn some free cards if you do the quests, but then, like, why can't you still do that with the Wrath of the Old Gods cards? Like, as someone who's starting now, they should be able to do the Wrath of the Old Gods quest too. Like, why is that limited time? That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
You want to keep new people coming in.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. There's a lot of things that they're doing and not doing that don't really make much sense, and I really think it just comes down to pure greed. To be honest, man, I mean, it's just they do not need. They could give away. They could make Hearthstone a 100% free to play game. Just all the cards, just completely. I know they're not going to do that because capitalism, blah 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 blah, all that nonsense, but. They could do that, and no one would go hungry at Blizzard. They would have all the money in the world. I mean, they make just shy. I think it's something literally like almost $1 billion a year or something like that, like altogether. So, I'm not saying they have to make the game entirely free, but why they're making it so hostile to new players, I do not know. I mean, I'm gonna. I mean, especially with this new expansion as well. I mean, like I was playing. As the new cards came out, and I was reasonably experienced at the time, but it was absolute, just complete chaos during the beginning. And like like there's there's Hearthstone adverts on TV, there's adverts everywhere you look, and it's like, yeah, come and play this game where we'll not really tell you how to win and will not really help you to stop losing, and you'll not have any idea why you've lost, and will not really guide you on how to make a good deck, and you can't get the good deck unless you grind a lot, get your ass kicked most of the time, and pay a lot of money. It's like, but how is that a good business plan? That's a terrible business plan.
It really is. I mean, and I think ultimately they're at a point now where they have such a huge player base. They are the number one, CCG. But there's a lot of great games coming out. Like you mentioned Shadowverse, and that's not my thing. But I've seen a lot of great games. And on top of that, there's a lot of great mobile games. I was playing one Star Wars mobile game that was a combination of a MOBA, like League of Legends, mixed with a card game. And it's hard to describe. But I was like, I mean, all this needs to do is hit a certain tipping point, and this could overtake Hearthstone,
Yeah.
And I feel like Blizzard really needs to kind of realize if they're not continuously cycling in new people and new income sources, their game could go from number one to dead in 6 months in one expansion cycle.
Oh, absolutely, and the esport side of Hearthstone as well is, in my opinion, just ridiculous. Like they just need to reel that in and actually make it a proper esport, because, in my opinion, like, because eventually people are going to realize that, these guys that spend, like, 6 months of the year, like, just training, grinding, to then lose just by, a 10% chance of a guy just getting, like, Pavel in the World but, like, I think, I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but I think he had to get, he drew Babylon Book, and then he played Babylon Book, and then he got a polymorph, and then he polymorphed the guy's rag, and that's how he won.
Yeah.
So these guys are going to get fed up with that nonsense really quickly, and if there's another game that offers them, like, maybe not as good a living at first, but there's, like, enough to make money, a couple of thousand people watching them, and it's, they reel in the random aspects of the whatever this card game is that I'm alluding to, and they make it as sort of about, like, you can't be, it's very, you'd have to be very unfortunate to win or lose just by chance. A lot of these guys are going to go, well, it's an e-sport. Sport actually has to mean there's some effort involved, and it's not just like, a coin toss. So I completely agree with you. They're going to, Hearthstone better be careful, because it's, they're going to lose their player base. And they're going to lose their dog in the race when it comes to an esport as well, because there was like 250,000 people watching the finals of the World Hearthstone Championships, and I was one of them. I was watching it, and it was good. But there was times when I was thinking, really, you guys are playing for $1 million, winner takes all, and you lost literally because you were unlucky. I mean, that doesn't happen in the street, when they're playing Street Fighter. Yeah. It just doesn't. It's like, oh, you win this time just because, you got lucky.
I think
don't waste my time with it. It's nonsense.
That comes down largely to, are we playing a game or a sport? In sport, you're talking about skill. Whatever the sport is, and in my definition of sport, here's the other thing too. Like, someone's like, golf is a sport. I don't know if golf is a sport. My opinion of sport is there has to be someone who is directly opposing you too.
Yeah.
Like, anything where, like, golf is a competition, golf is an activity, golf is an athletic event, but I don't know if golf is a sport. Same with bowling. These are things that are called sports, but I don't know if they are. A sport is something that's going to, this is just my definition. It's something that relies on your skill opposed by someone else's skill. Now, a good game is something like Monopoly or whatever, where let's see what the dice bring for me. And in fact, I've often said the perfect game is a game that has a 50% balance of luck and skill. The best game in the world is backgammon. Do you know backgammon?
I do know backgammon, yes.
That's the best game in the world. That game, you can have the greatest skill in the world, but if luck isn't on your side, nothing's going to do it. But if you're very skilled, you can mitigate a lot of bad luck. And that's what Hearthstone feels like to me. You can, with deck building and blah, 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 you can mitigate a lot of RNG, but not all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think for me the best game is probably, like, well, chess is the best one in terms of, it just being, there's no luck in chess. There's no, like, there's no accidental checkmate. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually that's the best game. But there's also a Chinese game called Go as well. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's unbelievably complicated. I've seen people play.
You're talking to a gamer, just so you know. I've heard.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, Go looks completely insane. There doesn't look like there's much RNG in that as well. But what makes something a sport and what makes something a game is quite tricky, because there isn't actually a definition for it. So when you call something an e-sport, I mean, there's a world of difference between, a Street Fighter competition and a Hearthstone competition. Like, just it's just, you really shouldn't call them both sports. Because if I had all the relevant decks the strong enough decks, I could go in and win theoretically against Pavel. Like I could. I'm not as good as him, but if the RNG's on my side, I could absolutely annihilate Pavel. If I do, and just that shouldn't be the way that it goes,
Right.
But a lot of these Hearthstone contests right now are, like everyone just immediately bans Pirate Warrior, just immediately. It's just no, you can't have Pirate Warrior, and the fact that people are saying if everyone's kind of just agreed that it's like no, if you bring Pirate Warrior in, it's just you can just beat basically everything. Then there's a problem with your game. If you need it, like it'd be like. I don't know. It'd be like in a like a kickboxing tournament or something, saying no spinning back kicks. They're too powerful. People just win too easily with spinning back kicks. It's like what? Like it wouldn't make any sense at all. But in Hearthstone, people are just like, yeah, you just ban Pirate Warrior, yeah. And it's like, well, you need to balance your game better then. If people are actually just saying, yeah, you just can't play this deck archetype, that's just stupid.
I think it was it was the second or third day of the expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the Batstone tournament, right?
No, I don't actually. I'm not familiar with the tournaments,
Okay,
but go
so
on.
there's one of the major Hearthstone tournaments that's not, run by Blizzard. It's called Batstone.
Okay.
I think it was the second day of the expansion. It may have been the third, so don't quote me on that. They announced patches will be banned at all Batstone tournaments. Just
Wow.
flat out. They're like, no patches. They recognized right away. They're like, this card's broken. If we remove this, then because again, going back to what we were saying earlier, it is too easy to just drop 2 small-time Buccaneers and patches into any deck, and no matter what your deck is, that's a extremely powerful combo. And so they said, well, we're gonna nix patches, and then without patches, people probably aren't going to play small-time Buck, and and that shows a serious problem with that card.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think one of the ways, and something that I would really like to see, is maybe just allow basic cards in certain tournaments. I mean, if I ever get to the position where I can host a tournament, I'll go, okay, guys, you can play with cards, but it's only a set of basic cards. That take out the RNG. If you took out the RNG, then it would be really interesting to see who would come out on top. Because as far as I'm aware, I'm not that familiar with the tournament scene, but you don't really get a reigning defending champion when it comes to Hearthstone because there's just too much RNG,
Right.
which seems to make it a little bit too silly for me. I might be wrong on that, but as far as I'm aware, it's really, really hard to win a tournament, multiple times in a row and defend your title because there's so much RNG. So why not just take out the RNG, or as much of it as you can, because you can sort of RNG in terms of what cards, like what hand you get. You can also get, you can always get a bad hand. That's fine. That's an acceptable amount of RNG. It's like playing poker or something like that. It is a card game.
Mm-hmm.
But if it just had kind of basic cards and like Yogg taken out and stuff like that, then look, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I would like to see Hot Meow versus Pavel just using basic cards. That would be really interesting to see who's actually better.
Well, and again, to go back to Magic, they do a lot of different things. Like they'll have these drafts where, for one season, it will be the community will draft cards and ban certain cards, and sometimes they'll have different restrictions on it. Like literally, you can go to any card that's never been restricted or banned throughout the 20+ years of Magic's history, and so people will pull cards from 18 years ago, and then that'll be in the draft. And then when they go to tournaments in that format, I forget what it's called exactly. There's a specific name, but I forget it. So then in that format, people will draft decks, and there will be a very expansive. We're talking hundreds of cards that are draftable.
Yeah.
But it'll be, hundreds of cards that are draftable in this thing. So there's almost no way that even the most expert players can think of every combination that's going to happen, because there will be cards that haven't seen play in 5 years,
Yeah.
And so they won't be thinking, wait, how is this 10-year-old card going to play with a card that just came out 6 months ago? And so that's a great format. And again, this goes back to what I was saying about, I think that Blizzard really needs to examine what the core set is. Instead of just doing Wild, where Wild is just, it's cards that are no longer standard.
Yeah,
Look at some of those wild cards and say, hey, maybe this card that was in Goblins versus Gnomes would be a good card that's defining for mages, or this is a good druid card. Let's put this in and make it a base card. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. I mean, I think I never play Wild, but all I hear from Wild is just that Secret Paladin is just OP. Just insane. Secret Paladin on Wild seems to just be dominating, and it has been dominating for quite some time. I don't know much about Wild, but that's what I hear people saying. So I mean, the fact that it was my dad that said this, right? He said, because he plays StarCraft. He plays StarCraft 2. That's his game of choice, right? And you've got the Terran, you've got the Zerg, and you've got the Protoss, right? And in terms of who wins the major tournaments and which races win and are at the top and all that, it's usually a split between the three, because that's actually how you balance a game. But remember, for the longest time, that Priest was just the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Was just the worst. It's like, well, that's just you can't. I don't understand why you would want to intentionally engineer a game where you're supposedly encouraged to play, just make up your own deck, have fun with it, try out different stuff, but not Priest. During the Karazhan, but don't use Priest. No, you can use anything you want, but Priest. So why have Priest there in the first place then? What's it doing?
I think during Karazhan, Priest had something like an under 1% win rate in Constructed. Mm-hmm. Under 1%. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Some of the best people, some of the best Legend players and the best Priest players could not get to Legend with a Priest deck. They couldn't do it. They just flat out couldn't do it. And to me, that's just like that's not even attempting to balance it. And the point in having, is it 9 different classes in Hearthstone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 9 different classes, okay, but if one's incredibly underbalanced, why do you have 9? Why not just have 3 and make them all perfectly balanced, or have 6 or 9 or 100? Just make them balanced. I mean, it's very
alternate.
Yeah, sure.
Thought to this. Here's what I'd love to see. Let's add Death Knight. Let's add Monk. Let's add Demon Hunter. Let's have 12 classes. We could add more classes than are even in World of Warcraft. Let's have a Spellbreaker. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but if you had 15 classes instead of 9, then people would play those cards or those classes that were currently underbalanced because they enjoy it. And you'd still see certain things dominating the meta, but at the same time, if you have one class that's bad and 12 that are decent and then 2 that are good, that's a lot different than Pirate Warrior and Jade Druid dominate the meta and everyone else can go fuck off.
Yeah. I'm with you.
It's not even like Warrior dominates the meta. It's Pirate Warrior, and that's it. Listen, I just want to bring up, we've only got about 5 minutes left in this podcast, but stick around after we're over, and I've got a few more things to talk to you about.
Cool.
It's just, it's very frustrating because I love Hearthstone, and because I loved Magic the Gathering for so long, and I love Hearthstone, and I feel like it comes into the problem, and I don't know, do you play World of Warcraft at all, or did you?
I used to play World of Warcraft.
Okay. So there's been this big debate about legacy servers and why isn't Blizzard doing legacy servers? And the answer is very simple. Yes, Blizzard could make money doing it. Okay, they could make money if they created legacy servers. But would they make as much money doing it as they would do not doing it? And that's what I think the problem is with Hearthstone right now. They look at things and they're like, well, this is the easy way to do it. This is making us money. If we take a risk and we try doing this, we might not make as much money. And that's a real pain because I understand Blizzard's a company and they need to make money, but man, it sucks for us.
Yeah, well, it sucks for us, and they're already. I mean, I don't know what the net worth of Blizzard is, but it's got to be something just insane. I mean, so they could take a chance. They absolutely could. I don't want to. We've only got a few minutes left. I don't want to get into the whole capitalism issue, but this is one of the problems with capitalism, where you just put the gain, how much money you're going to gain above everything else. It's like, that's just stupid. You're already making money. Why do you do you need that extra 20 million that you get, or however much off Hearthstone, and you're already making billions off World of Warcraft? Forget about it, man. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, it really is. And Blizzard has always seemed to me like the company that cares about its players more than a lot of other companies. I mean, you compare Blizzard to EA, and Blizzard is the friggin' Mother Teresa of gaming companies.
That's very true.
But only by comparison, you know.
Yeah. Oh, by comparison, if it was just them, then yeah. I mean, but by comparison, sure. But relativism doesn't get you out of the fact that they are really, really they could treat their players a lot better than they do. And, you know, without the players, they don't have a business, and then they make $0. So, yeah, not a good way to go about things. I was just going to say, do you mind, just before we finish, do you mind if I plug my podcast?
Oh, please do. I mean, I was definitely going to give you time to do that at the end, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to do it before I forget.
Well, we'll wrap up. Why don't we'll wrap things up here. Let me just kind of bring it to a close, then I'll let you do everything here.
Cool, thanks, man.
I think we're definitely in agreement that Blizzard is in a or Hearthstone is in a decent state right now, especially compared to Karazhan. I'm having a lot more fun playing it now than I have even in Wrath of the Old Gods, and definitely in Karazhan. But there's still so much room for improvement, and I really would recommend, if you get a chance, check out the developer update that they did a couple days ago. It's worth a watch. And I think it's good. And to anyone else that's watching this, I'm going to re-air this later, possibly a week from today at 8 o'clock Eastern, from the time that I'm filming this.
Cool.
But I might save it if I'm lazy. I don't know. It really depends on what my guest list looks like in the coming weeks. And anyone else watching this, check out Cal's Twitter at Skeptical Kane, and make sure you follow him on twitch.tv Winbykayo. If you are up early in the morning in the US, he is absolutely fascinating to watch, and he has like no viewers, and he needs more.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. Very kind words. Thank you.
That being said, tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, well, I'll make it. I'll do it quite briefly. I'll do a brief description before I give you the I give you the details. Well, my podcast it's called The Dialogue, and I do it with one of my very good friends, Tim Haynes, who happens to be a Catholic, and I don't really like to call myself an atheist, but I am, strictly speaking, an atheist, but I don't really like the term. And the point in The Dialogue is to kind of show that people from very different backgrounds with very different beliefs, even polarizing beliefs, can have useful dialogues, talk about important topics. There's any topic that you want to pick that's been, in the news recently, and they can still be friends, and they can have useful, meaningful conversations that don't resort in just, you're a Catholic, so you believe this, that, and that, and I'm on the left, so to speak, or whatever, and I don't believe in that, so now we just have to go down the identity politics route, and we just can't speak, we can't be friends, we can't have reasonable conversations about very, very difficult issues that people need to be talking about, rather than just resorting to petty name calling, like we see against, Trump and Hillary and all that kind of stuff. It's not useful, and The Dialogue is kind of the anti-safe space of the podcast world at the moment. It's very unique. And if you guys, I'm very happy with it. I've been doing it for about 4 years, me and Tim. And if you guys want to check it out, you can go to facebook.com/The Dialogue Podcast. That's the kind of fan page. That's one of the best places to get to it. But if you want to go to the actual website, Tim's website, where it's actually hosted, and that's where, all the nuts and bolts are screwed in and put into working order, you can go to vericast.net.
What was it? Facebook.com//The Dialogue?
The Dialogue Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, facebook.com/The Dialogue Podcast. And if you want to go to the actual main website, where you can also get it there as well, completely for free, it's vericast.net, and that's vericast net. Yeah, come along, give us a follow, give us a share, give us a like, and feel free to engage. The point in the podcast is that you disagree, and if you don't, and if you do happen to agree, tell us why you agree. It's called a dialogue for a reason. It's about conversation. It's about trying to pull humanity out of this ridiculous slump that where we just yell abuse at people that we don't understand, whose opinions we don't agree with, and yeah, we're the anti-safe space of the podcast world. Come and check us out.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, stick around. I do have one or two things I want to talk to you about off stream after this. So
yeah, cool.
It's great to finally talk to you. I apologize that you haven't been able to see my face. Hopefully you tuned into my stream, so at least you know I'm not holding up a sign saying this guy's a scrub or anything silly like that.
No, it's cool, man. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We'll have to do this again sometime.
And thank you for entertaining robot brain that runs my body for the first half an hour that I wake up most mornings lately.
No, it's no problem at all, man. I'm glad the stream is providing a valuable service.
Yeah. I just sit here with my coffee and just for those who are watching my stream, this is me for the first 20 or so minutes in the morning that I'm out of bed. I'm not awake, but I'm out of bed. I'm doing this as I watch Cal's stream as he sits there and talks about whether he should play Hex or Devolve. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Like I said, I like to keep my podcast right about an hour, and we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you very much, Cal. Anyone watching this, make sure you check him out. Definitely on Twitch because he's very fascinating, and I would say 4 years running the same podcast, he's got to be doing something right there. So I'll check that out myself. I did check. I think I liked you on Facebook, but I haven't yet had a chance to watch your podcast just because, dude, time.
Yeah, time. Life gets in the way, man. There's a million one things that we'd all like to do, and just life and time and everything, paying bills, gets in the way. But there's like 63 hour-long episodes of the dialogue on. You know, you go to the addresses that I gave you. You can get to them. There's a lot to dive into, and we talk about just about every subject you can possibly imagine. So yeah, check it out, guys. Really appreciate it.
I pay for an annual subscription to a podcast, one podcast. I haven't had a chance to watch more than 2 episodes since I started streaming on Twitch in December. So
yeah, that's how it goes, man.
I think it's time to cancel my sub. I just don't have the time. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end the stream, and we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching. Bye bye. Okay, so for anyone who stayed with me throughout, I'd like to say thank you very much, and thank you very much to those who hosted and auto-hosted me. It's very, very appreciated. Hopefully this worked out. I didn't get a ton of discussion going on in chat, certainly not as much as when it's a live cast and people can interact with the guest as well as the host. But considering some of the vagaries of what was going on with Cal and being able to interview him live versus pre-taped, I think this worked out pretty well. And I know that going forward, this might be something we do again in the future. But once again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Rhevs Palaver should be live again next Monday at 8 o'clock. I don't foresee it being another pre-taped episode. Should be back to regular live episodes. And I'm working on 1 or 2 different guests. So we'll see who it is. I haven't locked anyone in yet. So I'd like to invite everyone to come back on next Monday for episode 12 of Rhevs Palaver. In addition, this coming Friday, my friend Dave, who goes by Noah Near on Twitch, will be hosting the Proper Nerds podcast. You can learn about the Proper Nerds podcast by looking in the bio information below my Twitch stream. Once again, I am sending this from twitch.tv/DoseRev. So if you want to learn more about the Proper Nerds, scroll down and take a look. Friday's podcast starts at 8 o'clock Eastern and goes for 90 minutes instead of 60. And I don't know who his guests are, so you should tune in and check that out. And finally, on Wednesdays and Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, I do my Quiplash games. We had a ton of fun yesterday, Sunday night, when we did our Quiplash games. We had a bunch of members of Team MZ that came by and hung out and played, and some random strangers, as well as some of the prepper nerds. So that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. And again, due to some health concerns, I won't be streaming tonight. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be feeling better, and I'll be getting back to streaming some games unscheduled time-wise. So that's it. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great night, and I hope I see you soon. Take care.